I am going to call this meeting to order. This is the Committee of the Whole meeting for February 13th, 2024. Just for those who are in attendance online, be aware that our meetings are now recorded for public viewing and placed on a publicly available website. I also want to acknowledge that we are on the unceded First Nations lands of Ahadisset certificate territory. So, moving right forward into number 3, if somebody can approve the agenda or move to approve the agenda.
Move the agenda. I second.
Perfect. Derek, questions, comments, additions, nothing like that. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Minutes.
Motion to adopt the minutes of January 9th, 2024 Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis and Councillor Janice. Questions or comments, errors, omissions on this? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. Again, no business arising. Minutes. Not hearing any. We have no delegations this evening. We move right on to correspondence. Item 7.1 from Chad Nosad Boats, the audit planning report. Is there anything you would like to add to this item, CEO Nelson Smith?
Thank you. Yes. Once again, like in past years, the auditors will be taking some time in the evenings to help lower income families with their tax returns, and that will be from 4 o'clock till 6 o'clock on 2 of the nights that they're here.
And I think they were going to be here March 25th to 29th.
That's correct.
That's what they had scheduled anyways.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Is there questions or comments from council on this item? Not seeing anybody waving their hands. How will they or will you help them to make sure that the community knows that in some form of a box stuffer or Village Voice or through technological means?
All of the above. Yes, I've already indicated that a poster sooner than later would be beneficial to getting the word out.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Any other questions or anything from anybody? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question on that. All in favor of receipt?
Aye.
Any opposed? Did anybody move? Oh, we didn't move that. We didn't do anything with that. Never mind. Sorry about that. Okay, regional EOC request. This one is a request for staff direction. So this is item 7.2, the regional EOC grant request, pages 28 to 29 in your agenda. CAO Nelson Smith, did you want to add anything to this one?
I do. We're in a committee of the whole, so this is typically recommendations from council going to the regular meeting. As the deadline for the grant application falls before our next regular meeting, I'd be looking for a acceptance in principle from council at tonight's meeting, so I can provide PSRD with our approval and then ratify it at the February 27th regular meeting.
So what was the language that you needed there?
I can make this recommendation.
Go ahead.
If you like. Move that we accept in principle that as part of the village's Zeballos ongoing work in relation to emergency planning, that an application for financial assistance on the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund February 2024 Emergency Operation Center grant be authorized for submission to UBCM in collaboration with Strathcona Regional District, and that the Village of Zeballos agree to the Strathcona Regional District submitting an application on our behalf, and that if funded, agrees to the Strathcona Regional District managing the grant and being the recipient of all funding.
Second.
That is moved by Councillor Janice, Seconded by Councillor Lewis. Discussion. Seeing nobody waving their hands erratically. Thank him for this. This is one of those grants that I think is in line with what we need, which is actual people in seats. And the fact that they're going to do one group EOC training here with all of the partners that are in this area that are working on that emergency plan, I think is fantastic.
Good thumbs up.
All right, so I'm gonna call the question on that. All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Carried. All right, item 8.1, budget review. Hi, Claudia, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. Perfect. Okay, so we've just gotten on to the item 8.1, which is our budget review, our operating budget, where we can read now here. CEO Nelson Smith, did you have anything to add to this report?
Thank you. With the availability of our finance manager, Claudia Frost, I would encourage anyone from council to direct your questions directly to her.
Perfect. Thank you. Claudia, did you have anything that you wanted to add to this report? Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go through this, at council's allowance. I'm gonna go through this, kind of item by item. So taxation, does anybody have any questions on that? That's the kind of first part of the report on page 31. Hearing none, I had one. What if we didn't want to use 3.5 as a taxation increase to our residents and taxpayers here? What would we be looking at? Would we be looking at just wondering, because usually when we have done these kind of exercises in budgeting, we've had a range, right? So a 2, a 2.5, a 3, a 3.5, and in order to get what we want, 15% increase at times. And so I'm just wondering if there's any flexibility in that and what we would be not getting from not doing that.
Well, the total revenue
And that's one of the reasons that I asked that, because was for a lot of years historically, there was kind of a freeze on taxes, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. I just wanted, if anybody was listening out in, you know, on the internet right now, for them to understand that as well. So this is, you're asking for basically a cost of living, like a COLA, like an inflation, that's what that 3.5 is. Perfect, thank you so much. And then I had a question from Councillor Lewis online.
Just so you know, neither myself or I assume anybody that might be watching, can hear her.
Lovely. Okay, thank you so much for that, Councillor Lewis.
I have another option.
Yeah. So, for anyone who is watching online, I think that, what our finance officer was letting us know was explaining the table at the bottom of page 31. So, even though there's an assessed value of $100,000 last year, the tax rate's 11.51. Our revenue is 1151.74 off that. And then if it changes to 146, the tax rate is 88.164. And that's the revenue of 1,192.05. And the increase for the taxpayer would only be $40.31.
Exactly. Now, may I,
Just one sec while we get out.
can you hear me, Bart?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Claudia, can we do a test?
I phone into the speakerphone there. I don't know if that'll make any difference.
Is that one louder?
No.
Actually, from here, I could actually hear that one.
Oh, you can hear that comment from Claudia?
Yeah.
From Miss Frost? Okay, perfect.
Okay.
We're getting it set up. We're good. Claudia, can I get one more audio check from you?
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
I don't see any recognition. Was it on the speaker?
No. I'm not sure how, I'm not sure what the difference is.
Now you can't hear me at all.
I can hear you.
We can hear you here in the room, but I don't think that Councillor Lewis can hear you, which means nobody can hear you on the internet.
No.
Oh.
We're getting the kinks worked out, folks. This is brand new. Please, thank you for having your patience and your bearing with us.
I have no idea.
Where's the mic for
Yeah.
this?
I don't know why.
Just put that phone up there,
Can you guys hear? me?
Yeah.
probably.
Okay, can you do
Hi.
another audio check for us, please?
Hello?
Hello?
Sorry, I should have.
Can you hear that, Councillor Lewis on?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you for your patience. Ron Deck, you had, or Councillor Ron Deck, you had a question.
Yes, thank you. Or a comment, rather. I still stick by last year's comments. I would like to see the tax increase as little as possible, because we do not gain that much from an increase, except bad press, bad feelings for people that don't like to have their taxes raised.
Problem with, excuse me, Mayor,
Yeah,
The
please
problem-
do. Thank you.
the
Tanya.
problem with keeping it, I understand that, but this is not, actually, the tax rate is lower. And the problem with not increasing it, everything else does increase around you. The transportation costs increase, your fuel costs, everything else. So, sooner or later, you're going to have to increase those taxes. It's just a fact of life, like everything else. I don't think, it's huge increase. And you could be right. It doesn't look like that modest increase of that $7,368, but it does make a difference when you're looking at your operating costs. Because as small communities, our tax base really doesn't cover our operating costs. That's why we have to rely on small community grants. And without those, we wouldn't be in operation.
Thank you for that. And one thing further from Councillor Deck.
Yes, maybe I didn't make myself clear. I'm happy with 3.5%.
Oh.
I just don't want to go any more than that.
Okay. Thank you for that. Moving on. So, on page 32, there are three headings: the public works, the water sewer garbage, and the transfer to surplus. Does anybody have any questions or comments on those items? I'm not hearing any, so I am, okay, I'm gonna move on. So what, that kind of gets us through essentially the operating kind of budget. So I'm looking at the graph on page 34 of 48. Is there any questions on this graph? Or the one on the opposite page, 35? I have a question. What is gilts and pilts? What is that?
Oh, that's that's your provincial or your federal. So I don't think have you rent to the RCMP, but often they own their own buildings.
It's grants
So-
in lieu of taxes and payments in
Lieu
lieu
of
of
tax.
taxes.
Yeah.
It's a Lou. Thank you.
So that would also be your your Telus and Hydro. Do you not have those, Pete?
Yes, we do. Yep.
Yeah.
Utilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go to that.
Okay, so I'm not hearing any hands waved from council. Page 36. Any questions on that? We're now into the capital. I have a question, and this is probably not, this is more to probably CAO Nelson Smith. Rather than Claudia, Colbert. There's no 24 budget. Pandora through Colbert, 3/4 of the way down.
Oh, there should be. If there is not, then that's just a,
Just on the graph. It doesn't say. So I'm on page 36.
yep. No, so that project is still happening. It just needs to be moved over into 2024.
Perfect, because it said in the
Yeah.
budget, it says 126,700, and then actual is only 1,500, and then there was nothing on that. Okay.
Yeah, we'll
perfect.
make sure that gets bumped over.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, excuse me, is that the community projects you're under, the Pandora culvert replacement?
So I'm on the graph for the capital expenditures on page 36 of 38 in our council budget.
Right. Yeah. So what we're trying to show you here, just so you know, is so in 2023, the budget that's the budget you had for the capital expenditures, and you basically when you pass your 5-year financial plan, these are what you agreed to that you were going to follow through with. That's all that has been spent. That project is still there to spend those money. So you basically have set, either you received a grant or you've done a surplus. I'd have to look at that. But you in 2023, that money is still allocated for that. So even though you've only spent 43, that 1.389 million is still on the books to be spent, unless council turns around and says, let's say you were going to fix the building, but you sold the building. Well, now you're not going to fix the building, so you would have a motion to move those funds back into surplus. Does that make sense?
Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
So when we look at this now, all these on 2024, these are not, we're saying these are some of the things that were on the listing that council was thinking about doing, but that they kind of aren't written in stone yet. It's up to council to decide what they want to do here.
Okay, so are you talking about from the item, the mobile home park, and from the item admin asset retirement and down?
I'm sorry. Where do you see that?
I'm still on page 36 of 48 of the capital 2024 committee of the whole. It says capital, it says description, 2023 budget actual.
2024 budget. So the
Yeah.
2024 budget.
So
All
what
of
I'm
those
asking is, so these, all the things in the 2023 column have been budgeted. So all the ones in the 2024 budget that are new, kind of, is everything from the admin asset retirement description down. Do you get what I'm asking?
I do believe so, but we'll get confirmation from that.
Like, so I'm not sure about that, to tell you. I mean, these are all of the items when we had one time there was a committee of the whole, and these are some of the items that came out that people were still, or the council was still interested in. But and what we've done when we went through here is to say, well, or the rockfall mitigation. Actually, that one, there is funds coming for that $375,000. So that one I would say is going to stay because you've already applied and you're going to receive those funds. With the feasibility, lot 501 feasibility study, the 99,975, we're going to have grant funds of 7990. So we've already been approved for those grant funds. Actually, we received them. We received them, I believe, in 2023. So they will actually go into deferred revenue and that portion and come back out to revenue next year, or this year, excuse me. And then we'll be spending 19,000. So that will most likely come out of surplus. But the parts, buildings and parts, 15,000. Well, we said that would come out of surplus, or you decide not to do that. As the admin asset retirement, that one there for $10,000, you don't really have a choice. That is to do with and Pete can maybe speak on this. We were both at that meeting with the auditors, and we have to put aside money for asset retirement in regards to asbestos, buildings with asbestos.
Perfect. So that's it. Exactly kind of what I was getting at is all the ones from that point down. That one's we have to, and the other ones above have already had grant funding allocated to them. The new ones that we're talking about actually accepting into the 2024 budget are all the ones on the bottom here. My question to that would be, as you said in kind of your in the beginning, this is all things that we had talked about, but I'm wondering about moving some of them a little further out in the years to account for staff capacity is all I was talking about.
Absolutely correct. So that's what we are hoping that council looks at today. Absolutely. Is to say, well, these are in 2024. Can we move them over? So if you go to, I'm terrible at this page thing. It's not, maybe page 40, and it shows 2024 capital requests and major purchases. So what we've done is we've said these are the amounts that are outstanding for 2023. In other words, we still got money to allocated that hasn't been spent. The request for 2024, maybe we want to move them to 2025 or 2026. Exactly what we're looking for today.
Perfect. So thank you.
And where those funds are going to come from.
Okay. I do have one other question just to help guide this conversation. If we're talking about surplus from this year or from 2023 surplus, can we put those surplus funds into reserves that would count for these projects? That would be earmarked for these projects?
Well, so you've set up some reserves. So if we look at, you can see, page 48 has your reserve schedule. So what we've done is these are the amounts that are in these accounts. You have your surplus unrestricted parks and landscape, which is kind of really unrestricted because it's not through a bylaw. Environmental health, your gas tax, your economic development. And so you've set up some reserves, the new statutory reserves. So that is up to council how much they want to put into that. So you might say we want to put 25,000, but you don't have a lot to work with. I think there's only like 140,000 out of this year's surplus, so it's not a lot. With that, given that,
one more question before we go any further on that.
Certainly.
So then why do the items that are underneath the table on page 36 refer to surplus funds if we only have 141 in surplus? That's the
That's
piece that
it.
didn't make sense to me.
That's for this year. So you can see you have a, okay. So if you, capital, okay, so you have to look at your surplus. What we're trying to show you is, you're going to have, transfer from the current funds, and then you have your expenses as per your 2023 committed expenditures. We end up with a balance at the end of 2023 of just over $1 million. So if you look at the capital expenditures for 2024, we have said that of those capital expenditures, 466,000 would have to come out of surplus because you don't have grants, you don't have any other funds coming in for that. So that's why we're trying to.
Paul, I'm just gonna jump in here for a sec,
Right.
just so that everybody's got a visual. For page 35 is the transfers. So what Claudia's talking about, the transfers to surplus is this, the 141,269 is the surplus we had from 2023. It's not the total of our surplus. Like we have more than that, so and I do believe that number is the 1.169 million. So we're dealing with more than 141. That's just from 2023.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
That's just from 2024, Pete, not 2023.
Oh, apologies.
That's okay. It I guess confusing because we're talking about surpluses and then we're talking about the surpluses in the current year. So we're talking about you have a surplus account, which most municipalities have, which is kind of when you, it's a little bit easier to visualize what I'm talking about when you look at that, not quite the last page, my numbering of these, if you look below, must be 42. That gives you a better idea of what I'm talking about. Well, you'll see there's transfer from in 2020. We have an opening balance in 2023. Then we're transferring from current funds. Then we have the committed expenditures. Then we have the actual expenditures. And that amount should equal what you had said was going to come out of surplus last year, which it does. Then you have your balance at the end of 2023. Then you have, if you're looking at spending, what we have in that budget would be the expenses for 2024 and any transfers, which there was the cemetery transfer, which is currently in surplus right now, that we would take out. That would be your imbalance. 595,000. Now that's not including that 141,000 because we didn't know what council wanted to do with that. So we don't have any, in 2024, we don't have any transfers into surplus. Because council might decide, we would like to put, 10,000 into capital works and 10,000 into fire equipment, 10,000 into public works. Or nothing. That is up to council.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Councilor Jeans.
So I'd suggest we take a lot of that and put it into our new statutory reserves. How do we decide how we would divide it up?
I wouldn't advise taking it all. I would leave some room to put into surplus. I think before you do that, I think what you need to decide is how you're going to spend the money. What capital projects are you going to work with this year? Because then when we come back to the next CAL, you'll have a better idea of what the surpluses will be.
But some of these have nothing in them.
We're brand new. We just started these statutory reserves.
Shall we get those started off?
Theo Nelson Smith.
I think what Claudia is saying is, if we decide to defer some of the 2024 capital projects,
Yeah.
that may give us more for our surplus to then allocate
On top of,
on top of what that 141 already is. So the steps are, decide what the big projects we're going to do, and then at the next committee of the whole meeting, Claudia and Alana will be able to present something a little more accurate.
one foot goes in front of the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I was trying to get just this little list and then work off of this graph. Because if we know where the money is coming from, some of these things, COVID grant restart funding, that has to be spent, right? So these are projects that we had all asked to be done in 2024, that were our ideas to come forward. So the mobile home park, the municipal dock, the cemetery, the RV, dike cleaning, lift station, fire department, fire hall, RCMP museum, all of those kinds of things, right? We asked for those to be put in there, whether we were staff or council. But it's where we put them to actually be done. If we extrapolate them out a little bit into 2025 or 2026, these ones that they have earmarked with COVID restart funds have to be spent. Right,
Yeah,
is that
not necessarily on the items that we've chosen. That's just sort of what we're recommending. That
Okay.
fits in that
box?
box.
Okay.
That is council's decision.
Okay,
Ultimately what we want to spend the COVID funds on. They do need to be spent this year.
Yes.
And so those allocations are just our recommendations.
and that would be my suggestions to this council, is that we do all of the COVID restart fundings, and then the other items, we move out a little bit through the years so that we can give our staff some room to be able to actually get these kinds of things accomplished in these years. They'll still be in the 2023 to 2028 financial plan, but it gives them a little bit of breathing room. Councillor Jennings.
Well, the one that sticks out to me is the RCMP buildings. Now, we wanted to do some upgrades on them, if that's what it was.
Yes.
Considering the use they get, that's something we could push forward to another year.
I'll refer that to you. I don't know the condition.
It's up to you guys, but yeah, it's like skirting and basic things are, the roof is starting to leak a little bit and things that do. Right, yeah.
So, not a good idea to move that forward.
What's it, I think, yeah, it's a fairly small budget, I think, on those things. Skirting and then maybe roof fix and stuff like that.
I have a question from Councillor Deck.
These things are all things that we asked for last year. And before, I don't see why we can't just leave everything the same. Do the ones that we have to do first. And we'll end up the same as next year as we are this year. Some things started. Still in the budget. That way we don't have to shuffle things around. And the money's all there.
Do we have any comments from the financial officer on that?
That'd be you, Claudia.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. I don't, that's not what I would do. That's not what I would recommend council to do, I should say. I think it's better to be to have a more realistic idea of what would be accomplished, and how it's going to be accomplished within that year. So, I mean, something like, I do think with the COVID restart grant funds, they have to be spent. I believe Pete could give you a better idea of where to spend those funds than I could. But you know, I mean, what I don't know the status, such as the municipal dock upgrade. How important is that? How critical is that? That's more what I would be looking at. What is more critical, or what is something that you have to do, such as the asset retirement? You really don't have a choice with that one. The cemetery upgrade, I'm not sure. Is that something that could be put off for another year? Is it realistic to be able to say that Public Works is going to be able to do that this year? Considering all of the projects they have from last year that they still haven't done. Sometimes it's just putting, I understand your logic, but sometimes it puts undue pressure on those that are having to do the work.
Well, you don't realize how good these guys are.
I met them, I do. They're pretty fantastic. And I hate to say this on the female side, but now they have a female Public Works person in there too. So, you know, to really get done.
Thank you for that answer, Claudia. That really, I think, that really succinctly answered that question. And I think this is what we struggled with from last year as well, is kind of piling things on one year when we have a whole out to 2008 kind of budget to work with, that we can put some of these things off and not pressure our Public Works quite as hard as we did. Oh, Councillor Denise.
Please. I don't know what you're going through you, but we need some feedback, I would say, for who's going to be performing these tasks. And we need to then figure out which ones on the hierarchy are needed to be done most, and then which ones can fit in to our time and our manpower, woman power.
Perfect.
So
Can we go through them item by
just
item?
form that right now, and the 6 plus what it is.
Perfect. So the asset retirement we have to do, the mobile home park, Councillor or CAO Nelson Smith.
If council will allow, if we could back up to some of the 2023 for either further direction or possibly a resolution to remove some of these. Ones that I'm looking at in particular are the Zeballos campsite. We never really had clear direction last year what council was looking for that $20,000 to be used for. So, you know, some direction, either some direction this year or removal of that line item for that number to be used in something different.
How do you want to do that? I think that from my recollection, it's always been the hood fan and the
No, this is the Zeballos campsite.
campsite.
Yeah.
Oh, the pit toilet, or no, the delineation, wasn't it? Councillor Denise, did you want to answer that?
Yeah, so that was to make the campsites more recognizable, have them numbered, have them organized. I don't know if there's like a cement pad at each site or picnic table at each site, make sure there's a fire ring at each site.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't a huge amount of money to invest in that, because it's kind of scrambled right now. And I'm thinking we're gonna get more people want to visit it.
Yeah,
It seems like it from last year.
that was my recollection too, was just delineation and numbering and those kind of little cleanup things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, recognition of the actual sites.
We don't even really know how many we have. Essentially, right now, there's like 10 maybe. I don't know, maybe 15, maybe, I don't know.
Councillor Lewis.
There is a number of them on there that probably would not be done by Public Works, so those could be left on to be done because it wouldn't impact staff. Like the Keno lift station that's not something that the Public Works would be doing.
Still have to organize it though and oversee it, so.
Can I let CAO Nelson Smith, was that one that you were looking for direction on?
Which one, the
The Keno lift station?
that one I feel we definitely need to do. It's I think living in its last thread.
Okay. Which were the 23 ones that you were looking for direction on then?
It was that one, and then the other one you've already mentioned was the concession stand. If there were particular items that Public Works should be looking at to use those funds on.
I thought we had always talked about the air in that building and how we couldn't use the fryer or the pan or the. That was just my recollection. If someone has a different recollection, then feel free to bring it up. Like a hood fan kind of system so that we could use the actual grill in there and the fryers and things like that. And
Yes.
then there was some shelving in behind that needed to be built for storage. That's just my remembrance of the conversation.
Is that the $5,000?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we, can I speak?
Yeah, please do.
So we came across that, and what we talked about was that perhaps those upgrades are needed, but that number is not even close to what is, that's what we came to last time we talked about this. A hood, a commercial hood and a fan alone, you're looking at 20, yeah, like 10 times that, 5 times that, somewhere in between. So that's why that kind of got pushed aside, because we spend tens of thousands of dollars on something that gets used once a year. The French fries. Is the kind of where that was going. So that number was not accurate for what we wanted.
I think it was just left on there as a placeholder kind of thing to like, you know, investigate and see what, you know, there were some investigations going forward to see what that looked like and if that was feasible, possible, that kind of thing. But definitely there was some storage needs in there, I thought. I don't think there's any shelving or anything like that in there, but I don't think it was a high priority item either. Was there any other 2023 ones that you were looking for guidance on?
I'm not sure that council can give guidance because it's a little bit up in the air. The sewer infrastructure, the $260,000. I've received verbal that Ahatasat is going to take care of that lift station as part of their addition to reserve, but nothing in writing. So we're sort of in limbo with that one. I do know that speaking with some engineers that they are looking at it.
Bring that back to us as you know more for sure, because then we can take that budgeted item and extrapolate that budget out into these coming years. Then maybe there is opportunity for hiring, you know, an outside agency to come in and do some of this work for us in 2023, which would still kind of take some of that off of the shoulders of Public Works, right? So if there are people that we can get to do some of these projects, so can you bring that back to us as you know?
Absolutely. The bigger picture with that is if the addition to reserve does indeed complete, then that infrastructure will no longer be on a property that we can access. Unless there's a municipal services agreement in place, you know, stating as much.
Which we are under,
Yeah.
which we're working through at this time.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Councillor Deck.
One more item here, the mobile home park. Now, we don't expect our crew to do the $200,000 upgrade there. Are we bringing in some outside help?
That would be the anticipation. So that one, if I can speak to that one a little bit. We've had, in the last month, we've had 2 requests to have lots opened up, as, the park owners, there's no water or sewer or hydro connected to any of the remaining lots. No concrete pads. That's all work that would need to be done prior to us bringing any new residents in. And the staff's thought behind that was, instead of doing one at a time as people are renting the pads, is get a contractor to come in and do it all under one umbrella contract. The staff time there would be, drafting up an RFP, designs of what do we want that park to look like. Of course, overseeing the project from project management stuff.
Perfect. Can we continue going through this little list here? Is that appropriate, do you think, that we can kind of see where these are at and,
Seems like it.
okay. So again, I'm looking at page 36 of 48. So the asset retirement is have to, the mobile home park is a have to, and that doesn't fall under COVID funds, COVID restart.
It could.
Okay, so that's just an option for the council to consider.
I don't know how neatly that one fits in there.
Okay, that's why you didn't pick it as a first. Okay, perfect. The municipal dock upgrade. That is a surplus one, so that can be moved around. And is this not a combination project? Municipal dock upgrade and also a seaplane dock conversation. So what I would ask of this council is, what do we actually want Public Works to do on this? Do we want them to investigate moving that seaplane dock and then move this $80,000 over? So this year they'll investigate the moving of the seaplane dock and move that 80,000 over into the next year, so it could be a whole all-in-one project. Does that sound like a reasonable thing for us to do? I would absolutely hear Public Works's opinions on that.
Yeah, I think on that project, like you mentioned, seaplane dock, definitely needs to be like addressed and looked at now, and the state of it is, it's deteriorating. The tire floats are coming out of some of the docks and spawning parts, so definitely needs to be addressed. Either to put money into that and re-anchor it and rebuild it, basically I'd say the last, whatever's left, 3 of the fingers, they're not fingers, but slips. Or, yeah, the other option is to investigate into moving the dock and maybe reconfiguring it. So, up to you guys.
Councilor Deck, you had a comment?
Yes, you, Jim. That's it.
Thank you.
Is that not another project that would be better suited to an outside contractor?
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah, and there definitely, I definitely have project management of it, obviously, and
Yeah,
work to do within it, but yeah, definitely, I would be a higher professional contractor. I think that deals with this, anchoring of docks and all that.
Yeah, that's not work you would do. It's not your specialty,
No.
anchoring.
Yeah.
And we have been waiting for those anchors since COVID. So, yeah, it's an interesting little conundrum with that one. That would be my suggestion, that we do what we can with the seaplane dock right now, just to keep it stay, but move that municipal dock project out to the next year, so that we can really actually do a 2-in-1 project, if the airline companies will allow us to move it. Because that's still not clear, is it?
We'll have more meetings for sure.
Mhm.
About it, yeah.
How do you guys feel about that? Is that reasonable?
You should make that into a recommendation.
Oh, boy. Recommendation that the municipal dock upgrade be moved to the 2025 budget line, budget column. And that investigations have, and that the seaplane dock be added to the municipal dock as a total project, if applicable.
Excuse me, Mayor, just a question, maybe, for Hudson.
I have one, hold on, one thing before that, because this may change it,
Well, and we need a seconder before she can.
and we need it, yeah. So if we have a seconder on that, then we can talk about it,
Second.
okay? Counselor Lewis.
By putting it to next year, right now, my concern is that any safety issues have all been taken care of so far.
That would be through to Public Works.
The safety issues that may be on the dock, like as of right now, yes, like loose boards and stuff like that have been taken care of. The recent dock pin situation with the storm has been taken care of. It's safe to be used and to be on, but definitely needs to be addressed. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, and then through to Claudia.
I just wanted to ask,
Ms. Frost,
so you,
is that better? Sorry,
can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, just wanted to ask what Hudson would think, because it sounds like he has to do some either research or maybe do you think this year is there a cost to that we need to have in the capital towards this? Like we'll move the 80,000 you're talking about to 2025, but is there any cost in 2024?
Well, that's why I only asked the municipal dock project to be moved and not the seaplane dock until
Okay.
these things are investigated.
Okay, I just wasn't sure, so just wanted to. Right, thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. All right. Cemetery upgrades. Do you want to, should we, as Councillor Denise was saying, let's ask for some advice here and see what priority and capacity we think that our workers have.
For that one then.
Yeah, for the cemetery upgrade, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on it too. For me, it's just kind of a smaller project, maybe just a little fence, which I think was there in the past, maybe just off of the gravel road. I recently had to take down the uprights with a sign on it because it was becoming a hazard and was rotting away. It's a fairly small project unless you guys had a vision of something more than that. It was basically just a fence and fixing the uprights and repurposing the signs that we do have. But if you guys wanted to see more there, and
I think that we had talked about a bench at one point, but I don't know what that's included in this or not.
I think it's manageable. I think a small fence and having another employee at Great Carpentry Sales, I think it's a definitely manageable project this year. If you guys are interested.
Yeah, I think in the past we had talked about, just the fencing the sign, which was getting redone that and somebody at some point had asked for a bench up there, just off of the columbarium to kind of like have a place to sit, right? And,
Maybe the flower beds,
Yeah.
structures and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Landscaping more than anything. And,
Council have any other views than that, or is that their intended?
Sounds good.
That sounds like a type of project you can fill in with spare time and fill in where you need to.
Yeah.
It's all your spare time.
Yeah.
on these nice days.
Sure.
Get out of town, hang out at the cemetery, to the sunshine. Okay,
Eaten alive by
RV
mosquitoes.
RV park picnic tables and upgrades. Do we want to put those together? Or do we want to keep them separate?
RV picking tables. It's only the same thing.
right?
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about with that? What are the upgrades that need to happen at that RV park?
For the RV park. Yeah, up to you guys, but I'd like to see it beautified a little bit. There's lots of issues related to each person's water and electrical hookups, which would definitely need to be addressed. Sewer related issues would need to be addressed there. Yeah, it's endless really there. If you guys want to really beautify it and make it a lot better. The bathroom is not insulated. There's no hot water tank in there. There's no shower around there. The old building there that used to house, I think the laundry is falling apart. But yeah, I believe it could be a big project. Could be just putting small amounts of money into it. It'd be up to your vision.
Well, we've got a budget, it says of 15 and 5, so $20,000, what are we gonna get accomplished, and what's the capacity do we think for Public Works to do? Council? See, or, Councillor Janice?
It seems like the usage is fairly low. Right now. But I would suggest that we kind of clean things up and move through it. You know, make sure it's safe, the electrical, and make sure the water's working. I don't think we're going anywhere near putting the showers in or anything like that.
No.
I would say, like, you know, clean it up and bring it up to par and make sure things are running properly that are there any existing there. And that seems like an amount of money that, and of course, these picnic tables. Those aren't gonna be cheap, but sure. That's what my suggestion is.
Councillor Deck?
I think a shower is important. It's a long way down to the dock to get a shower. If we want people to come there and come back, we have to have at least a minimal amount of facilities. And a shower is a big one. Maybe you could investigate and see how much it's gonna be.
I think probably most people who come there have showers. It's not really, right? It's not a campground.
Yeah, I've got an RV and a camper, and my shower never works.
Right. There. Too easy.
Luckily for you guys, mine does.
Perfect.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's definitely if that's something that the council wants to see, then we should maybe pop that into, you know, an investigation kind of context for our Public Works. But I think right now, the priority is to make sure those existing, the sewer, the electric, the water are all upgraded to a point where they're usable and we're not worried about them. You're not worried about them, and the people who are staying there are not worried about them. And I wonder, and this is just throwing this out here, because we're spending so much time, so much money on the trailer park. And having somebody come in and just rip and tear and put some stuff in so that there's some services that can be provided. I mean, the RV park is just right next door.
It is.
Could make that project a bigger project and kind of do a 2-for-1, and I'm just putting that out there for.
As a committee of the whole, I've also pondered maybe reducing the size of the RV park because of the lack of usage and expanding the mobile home park. And that is also something that could be done at the time that excavators are ripping and tearing.
Councillor Janice.
I think further to that, if we had our Zeballos campground in order, that a lot of these small RVs and campers and whatnot could pull right in there and use it as that. So for sure, big picture here. Yeah. And I agree with, I think the direction we're going with the mobile park is going to, it's the easiest, quickest and most efficient way to get us to a point where we can have more housing in our little town here. And if there's more lots, if there's more pads available, then I think they're at a point where if they're serviced properly, like we're looking at doing, they are gonna fill.
Mhm.
And, you know, 8 more of those would be way more beneficial to our community than an RV park that doesn't really get used.
Mhm. Councillor Duck.
I agree. The most important thing on this list that I can see is the mobile home park, by far. If we can make it bigger, put a shower in the corner, I'll be happy.
What do you need by way of us?
And at this point, nothing unless you want to change, the funding allocation.
The funding allocation for the picnic park or the RV park tables and park?
I think we agreed on future of that in place, right?
Those are COVID restart funds.
Can I ask a question about the RV park?
Yes,
So I'm just, because I heard something about, washrooms. Are there washrooms at the RV park right now?
there currently are washrooms over there, but they're in a building that is uninsulated and there's no hot water. It's just cold water and a flushing toilet.
Okay, so they're just toilets, there's no showers?
No.
Oh.
There are public showers available at the waterfront.
Okay, okay, and then you're talking about putting a showers by the mobile home park?
RV park, but
No, I thought I heard mobile home park, but, okay. I know that myself, when we did a campground, it was like over, we had an instructor and we had the hot water, but it was over $50,000 just to do an upgrade on the bathrooms.
absolutely, yeah.
Just so you have a both idea there. I was just not, I wasn't sure what you were looking for there, but that's, thanks.
Well, and I know it's a really long way from the RV park to the dock, but actually there's only a kilometer of pavement in Zeballos. So, I mean, it's not, walking absolutely for elderly, I do 100% understand that. But usually if you've got an RV, you've got a vehicle with you. And so I'm not too worried about that. And yeah, it's a high priced item.
Does your RV park have water and sewer or just water?
Every site has water and sewer.
Yeah, so then they're
Wonderful.
pretty much self-contained then.
And those are something that we can come back as increase of users comes in, all of those kinds of things. Originally, that RV park had a single wide trailer at the front of it with 4 showers and 3 sets of laundry facilities, the coin operated laundry facilities, which that again is something that probably people could use in town, right? There are people who don't have washers and dryers, you know, so these are all
Don't feel
things that
bad,
could
we don't
consider
have,
further
we don't
on.
have a laundromat here in Valemount either.
Councillor Lewis?
Yeah, what Hudson mentioned about the hot water, just having a small hot water tank to for the sinks in the bathroom, I think would be a big bonus. Without, you know, putting a shower and all that kind of stuff and insulating that, but at least to have just a bit of hot water so you know, people can wash their face and that sort of stuff in a reasonable temperature water. But also the building that used to house the laundry, just curious of what might the cost be for to stop it from deteriorating. I do know that the believe it was the washing machine, it froze and ruined the machine in there. I think a washer dryer eventually in there, but to keep the building so that it doesn't deteriorate anymore. So eventually down the road, the washer and dryer could again be used in there.
Is that a question? through
Yeah.
to,
Yeah,
Or-
just to, how much, is it a lot of work to keep it from rotting anymore?
I'd have to do some more investigation into it, Councilor Lewis, but I don't think it'd be very expensive at all. No, a few $1,000, I'm sure would be suffice to clean it up a bit anyways.
Thank you.
so that's $20,000 worth of work. Picnic tables and upgrades. Whatever you can get out of that. Is that something that you have capacity to do this year? Right, thinking realistically, and especially if we want to investigate doing some kind of expansion to the actual trailer park, to have people living here. Contributing to the economy, all of those kinds of things, is that
I'd like to see it pushed off, but it'd be up to you guys.
you'd like to see that just one more year?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make the recommendation that the RV park picnic tables and upgrades get moved out to 2025. To the 2025 column.
Second.
And I have a seconder for that. We have conversation. That also gives you some time to maybe invest, see what, if you've got a contractor coming in, what they could provide for us in that RV or expansion, right? Because the mobile home is the important thing, I believe. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That is carried.
Sorry, I missed the seconder on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Deck cleaning. Do you have any recommendations or comments on that from Public Works?
I think it's been in the budget quite a few years, correct me if I'm wrong, but, yeah, I definitely think it's a very important thing as part of our emergency management and protection of our village. I think we shouldn't be pushing this off. I think lots of this work could be contracted out to equipment operators and equipment companies and can be managed by me, but I definitely like to see that project get started for sure.
Perfect. Councilor Denise, you had a question?
I think this holds higher priority. And the reason being is because it's been neglected for a long time. And it's something that we are required to complete and adhere to. And it's been talked about for the last 6 years I've been here.
Way longer.
So I think it's something that we've ignored and neglected, and if we can get on a routine and get, the first one's gonna be complicated. Then if we get on a routine, it's gonna be a lot easier to face, right? So I think Hudson's correct in getting somebody else, the contractor in to get it started and.
Yes.
For sure, there'll have to be professional followers and everything else involved, right? So.
I do not like where it's coming out of, but I know that there's probably no other place that it fits. I don't think that should come out of surplus. I think that when the province handed us the responsibility of those dikes, that they should have included dollars with it. But that's just my soapbox. Lift station, we talked about that. That's somebody else doing that. You're gonna project manage. Claudia.
Excuse me, maybe a question to ask Pete, could some of those, like that $20,000 that we took out of COVID restart, would that be applicable to this part of this dike cleaning?
No, that would be too much of a stretch. Maybe growing community fund if we have any left.
Okay, what about the cemetery upgrades for COVID restart?
I'd have to look into that one.
And maybe also, I'm just trying to figure out how to get another $20,000. So if I don't know about the asset retirement or that cemetery upgrade, just an idea.
Yeah.
Because that would free up $20,000 out of the surplus, so it wouldn't. You see what I'm?
Yeah. Claudia, I also think that, you know, these budgeted amounts, I think that they're probably, there's some of these that we've asked for kind of more work on. And I think that that money could be, so where are we here? Like the, 20,000. Let's see. Well, we're not down to these bottom ones yet, so. But we'll see, because I think there's, that we could add more. I think there are places where we could add more budget to cut offset that.
Right, and just the COVID restart, I believe, has to be kind of expended this year.
Yes.
So
Yep.
hey, that's all. I'm just trying to make sure that we can, if we can put some of these projects like the parks building, I don't know. We've got that up at plus 15,000. That if we can look at that, what can we use that COVID restart fund for? I guess that's what I'm
Well, and I
looking
think
for.
that the mobile home park is a great example of COVID restart funds for a portion
Right.
of that.
Okay, that's
So,
kind of stuff we're looking for. So we'll leave that to Pete.
okay, fire department meeting room updates. Floor and paint. I think we should take that out of there. I don't think they should do any painting over there at all. I think we need to take that right out of.
So you're not calling these on fire.
I'm just kidding. Are we good with all of these, and how, Public Works, how do you feel about capacity on those?
The fire department meeting room upgrades.
The painting and the flooring?
Floor and pan, I think they're all doable.
Yeah.
With another,
All right. RCMP building. Councillor Janice, you had talked about moving that out, but you had said that these are things that actually maybe a roof in the end of the summer and like a winter job over there or something at the end of the year.
yeah, for sure.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
So it still has to stay in this year?
Yeah, I'd like to see that. But for a few years, not very much money has been put into them, and they're, but again, infrastructure around that's deteriorating and doesn't look very good, and yeah, it's an issue.
And then the museum, what is the other project? Oh, the other project, you guys wanted some direction on that, didn't you?
There's a back room, I think, that was built, but nothing was ever done with it, so.
And I think that that project has been done. And I think that we eventually will need to do something there, but this is something that I would 100% move out to next year. Because we're gonna have to figure out what exactly we're gonna put in there. Or is this just gonna be shelving? Is it going to be glass casing? Is it going to be indigenous based? Is it going to be logging based? Is it going to be, like, these are bigger conversations, I think, that have to come from this table, with maybe some conversations with the volunteers and things like that, and the CAO. I don't think this is something that it's been enclosed now, and you know, but that doesn't mean we have to act on that this year. Councillor Deck.
Do we maybe squeeze some of the 10,000 for paint and whatever for the inside? To spruce it up. I'm not talking about a big renovation thing, but it is starting to show its age. Could use a little bit of help. Wouldn't.
That's through to you then.
Yeah, I think, I agree with him, doesn't really question of, the whole repaint of the outside, and I think it's doable for us to do this year, yeah, especially in the summertime, we're in some.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. And that doesn't neglect the fact that it still will need to be a budget item for 2025, because we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do with that back room. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I would say even put, you know, just a placeholder in there, and then when we revisit this conversation, That's a decision that this council will have to make about what goes in there and how it's set up. Okay. Fire department equipment grant. How are we looking here, folks? Are you getting what you need from us?
I do have a question, Mayor, with the museum, if you're putting over the 10,000 to 2025, is that what you're planning to do? What you want to paint
We're
this
keeping
year?
we're keeping the 10,000.
Okay,
Yeah, but we're adding a small budget item for next year because there is a brand new addition that will need something in it. It can't just stay. I think it's been enclosed. Is there even insulation in there?
It's just insulation and plywood.
Yeah, it's just insulation and plywood. There's no walls yet or anything like that. Yeah.
so then we're changing this to upgrades to the building, painting is
Sure.
what you're talking?
Yep. Maintenance and upgrades. Not maintenance. We don't want to call it maintenance. We want to call it new upgrades that will help our from COVID, not having any tourists here, making it more tourist available.
The miners
So
as well.
if we put $5,000 for next year for the room, is that seem
Just as a
reasonable?
placeholder, so we can talk about that, I think. Is that reasonable? Do you need that by resolution?
Yes, that would be your recommendation.
Recommendation? So recommendation that there's a placeholder put in the museum budget for next year to finish the
Room.
addition. Sorry, I was like writing furious. Do you have a seconder for that?
Second.
Second,
Excuse me, did we agree on the RCMP building? Was that an amount that was
Mhm.
agreed? Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, what is left to clean up here, folks? What else do you need from us?
The only other one left is the fire department equipment.
Oh, that's grant. To be
So we did,
determined,
that
and I
needs
don't think that's
to be
any,
determined. If we
Is that
didn't sign the
any-
grant.
sorry, one sec. Is that any commitment on fire or on public works? Or capacity for staff? No. Okay, that stays. What's FYFP mean? Claudia, on your graphic, on your chart. I've got page 40, capital requests and major purposes chart. What does FYFP mean?
This page 40?
It's the capital requests and major purchases graph, and it is on dike cleaning and assessment. As per FYFP.
Five-year
Financial plan.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I knew it was
I
just
don't-
something, but I needed to 5 year.
I don't think that was mine, that was Pete's.
Thank you.
I was going, I'm not sure, I have to look at,
She's listening.
I know.
I'm quick.
Where are we at then here, folks? Reserves. That the last piece of this puzzle?
I think at this point, we should look at the few things we're going to restructure here. You can certainly talk about reserves if you like. I would say at the maximum you have. So I noticed on here you have wastewater collection and treatment, water treatment, and distribution.
Mm-hmm.
Those, to me, any reserves you're putting in there should be coming from your water and your sewer. amounts. They shouldn't be coming out of your general surplus.
But that's not how it works here, because we subsidize our water and sewer.
Right.
So yes, I agree with you, in policy, that should, or in theory, that should be the way it goes. And hopefully, this is a plan for the future, that we will have sewer on this side of the bridge. And in that case, we would start to collect monies to go in towards that.
Right, because right now, you're right, you have a water deficit, you have a sewer deficit.
Yeah.
You have garbage that you're basically break even.
And that is not going to be the same going forward. That is going to be a major, that is going to be a major increase to taxpayers.
So anyway, that's my only concern. You can certainly, councils can do what they want, but I would not take that whole surplus, because you need to have some contingencies just in case something comes up throughout the year that is not planned.
JJ or Councillor Denise has a question, but how much of percentage of that would you want us to take then? What's your recommendation?
I wouldn't do more than half.
Okay. Councillor Denise, you had a question?
Just to back up,
Oh,
we missed an item, arborist group. In the backside of the spreadsheet,
what do you want?
Yeah, we did.
I just wanted to point out we missed it. What are we gonna do with it? We decided on every other item except that one.
Perfect. Thank you for bringing that up for sure. And so that's, I guess, through to Public Works about capacity and guidance kind of issues.
I think that's another thing that's high on the list for, public safety.
Uh-huh.
And would be something that's hired out by a special officer that I think we should definitely.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay,
Need to do.
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Which, I'm sorry, which item was that?
It's on the big spreadsheet. Page 41. Arborist crew underwater reservoir fence. It's
Sorry, I
I got
don't-
it noted.
Which one is it?
Arborist crew.
Oh, the arborist crew. Oh, right. And that was missed on our capital?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Maybe that was operations though?
Nope.
No, it was,
No.
thank you for that. Appreciate that. Okay, so you're asking us to allocate, back to reserves, you're asking us to allocate 50% of 150,000 to our reserves.
I would certainly not do any more than that.
Okay, $75,000.
And land sales are typically reserved through the sale of land. It's not something that you would plunk
No,
surplus into.
I actually had it like, yeah, that's not something we're gonna add
Yeah.
to. That's something that we feed into when we sell something.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. I would like some help with this. So in our budget, we have now moved some things out to 2025. We have some things in 2026. We have some things in 2027. I know our wastewater collection and treatment and our water treatment distribution and foreshore improvements are coming. I get that, but I also know that there are things in this budget that are capital that we're gonna have to save for. So the highest priority things, this is what I'm asking staff and financials advice on. What are the highest priority things that are gonna come out in this plan, in this 25 to 28 plan, that we should be putting money into reserves for? So there's a dump truck purchase coming. There is there's all these things that are coming in these next years, and I want to have enough in these reserves to be confident that we're going to get those for our people.
Yeah, definitely public works equipment. You know, that's, it never gets newer. The other big one would be the wastewater and water. Just with the anticipation of the addition to reserve, knowing the condition of some of the existing infrastructure. And even so far as if we are going to bring wastewater to the east side, it might not be 100% grant funding if we're getting grant. So we need to have, you know, some matching funds. So those, to me, and I'm definitely willing to hear from Hudson on that. To me, those are the big ones.
That's my top tier, is definitely the public works equipment is priority and our infrastructure.
Okay. Councillor Janice, you had a question?
I agree, and I'm looking at the foreshore improvements. I don't think that's gonna get away from us. So, and I don't think it's gonna be very expensive. So it's gonna be too expensive. It's the hub of the community. Yeah. Who told you that?
Okay, no back and forth, guys. That's not through the chair if you'd like to speak. So we've got staff's recommendation for public works equipment. You said you had two, Hudson? The wastewater or the water? Which one? Or was it both?
So, yeah.
Okay,
Anything related with infrastructure,
three
water, sewer, and like, yeah.
and a foreshore. Do we agree that we need to put money into public works equipment? Is that an agreement through, I heard that from, so we're in agreement on that. We are in agreement on wastewater collection and treatment. Infrastructure, yep, and water treatment and distribution infrastructure. I'm seeing nods. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So, and we have a request to put some money into the foreshore. So, and you said that probably wasn't going to be a massive, like you don't want to put you know, half of this 75,000 in there. That's all we've got is 75,000 to work with.
Right.
So we could do like 20, 20, 20, 20, or yeah, 20, 20, 20, and 10.
Something like that.
So 20,000 into public works equipment, 20,000 into wastewater, 20,000 into water, and 10 into foreshore.
Sounds reasonable.
Or 5 into foreshore, sorry, 75,000.
15.
15 into, yeah.
15 will make it half of them.
Yeah. Got it?
Yeah.
Was that facilitated or what? Okay, everybody's happy with that? Is there anything else that staff needs from us? We moved a couple of projects out. We've lightened some load on public works. We're still getting all we want and all that our staff needs to do their jobs. Any comments from staff about what else you'd like from us this evening?
I'm happy with the division.
Perfect.
Yeah?
You're good.
I have one final question on all this whole package. And it is on committed funds allocated to the following grants. So it's on the back of that reserve schedule.
Right.
This is a nitpicky little thing, Claudia. There's $117 remaining out of COVID grant restarts. Would you just take that out of surplus?
Okay. So what that's showing you is that was committed. So in 2023, you had $200,000.
Mm-hmm.
You've committed those. So You've committed for the connected coast. You've committed, which is actually spent. You committed for desk, which didn't get fully used. You committed for council camera, which is complete. So it's not, you actually have almost $1,500. The OCP, that's for the 2024 portion that we were looking at, and the concession stand, which is not completed. So actually, if you look at your actuals, so now it's going to change because we're not going to save $850 per desk unless there is Pete's or Atlanta or the office admin is going to say we still need that money. So that's where that money we turn around and say we're taking this money out. The grant is completed, the capital expenditure is completed, and that's it. Same with the council cameras. And I have to really look at this OCP because I'm not sure. I think there was some money. Oh, I think because we originally originally the council put aside 70,000 for the OCP, but you received a grant. So now we don't need that 70,000 anymore. So that's another part that will come up. So actually, we have 60,000. If you look at the actual. Now that will change too because you just took out the RV park upgrades and the RV picnic table upgrades.
Okay, so this will all change your next reiteration is what you're saying to me.
Yes, so you'll have more money, and so then, and that's up to, I think at that point, Pete, we'll need to look to see, we're thinking, I believe you were thinking you could use some of these funds for the mobile home upgrades. Right? The reality, we're trying to show you here, though, is these funds are actually in your surplus. They aren't separated out, so we just wanted to show you what the amount of money you received that's actually included in your surplus that really has certain parameters to spend those money.
Perfect.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And thank you for being here this evening and trying to work through our numbering issues and our technological issues. Oh, Councillor Lewis. One second. I just got a question from Councillor Lewis.
Certainly.
I'm just curious, through the Public Works, or to the CAO, has any money been put aside or already for the, overflow parking on the other side that's all been cleared and the trees gone? Is there anything been put aside for the gravel and all the rest of it to make it look like the other side? Because the summer's coming and
I'm saying nods.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you.
Because that complete project will be like a parking lot, a delineated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that, Claudia.
No problem.
Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate all the hard work that you and Alana put in on this.
You're very welcome. Alana did great. You're very lucky to have her. I try to confuse her all the time, but you know she's pretty good at picking up on that.
How about Pete? Was he of any use?
We try to confuse Pete all the time, and we're pretty successful at that. So
working our way through this agenda. Bylaws, there's none. New business, none. Public question and comment period. Any questions or comments from the gallery, reserving the right that we might not have the answers. But any questions or comments? Hearing none, there's no rise in report, so I would take a
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a second. Do we want to talk about that? Hearing no questions or comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried.